He never imagined she would even look at him. Not once. Not in that place. Not in the world where he existed. Scraping by, invisible. But she did. She looked right at him, and that's when everything started to shift quietly, like the click of a lock turning somewhere far away. He was just a waiter. 29, broke, worn out in ways no one could see, the kind of broke that seeps into your bones, the kind that makes you forget how to want things. He worked the morning shifts at a fading café off 8th and Willow, the kind of place that smelled like burnt espresso and regrets. He didn't hate it, not exactly, but every day felt the same. Same steam rising from cracked mugs, same half-hearted laughter from couples who stopped loving each other years ago, same smile he'd glued to his face, like armor. It was easier that way. Easier than hoping. His name was Theo. Nobody called him that. Just hey, or you, or check please. No one ever asked about his story, because stories only matter when people think you do. And then she walked in. The first time, he didn't see her. He felt her. The room shifted. That's the only way he could describe it. The clatter quieted. Conversations slowed. Even the ceiling fan hummed softer. She didn't dress like anyone else who came through those doors. Not young, not trying to be, not loud, not lost. She was deliberate. She wore a tailored black coat that draped like it was stitched from silence. Her silver hair was twisted into a knot so precise it felt architectural. No makeup, just red lipstick, dark red, crimson like an echo. She didn't sit by the window or the corner. She chose the bar stool near the register, and she looked directly at him. He turned away, embarrassed. She didn't. He glanced back and found her eyes still on him. Calm, measuring. He blinked. She smiled. It wasn't a flirt. It wasn't pity. It was something else. Something he hadn't seen in years. Recognition. Like she saw something in him he couldn't. He walked over. Coffee? He asked. She shook her head. Tea, she said softly. Chamomile. No sugar, no lemon. Coming right up. He walked away, confused, stirred, shaken, in that small, invisible way that doesn't hit you until later. She came again the next week. Same time, same place, same order. He asked her name. Evelyn, she said, voice as smooth as the velvet pouch she took her glasses from. Nice to meet you, he replied, genuinely. You too, Theo. He froze. He never told her his name. She only smiled. Weeks passed, then months, and she kept coming back. Always Tuesdays, always for 15, always alone. She never used her phone, never brought a laptop, just sat, sipping slowly, eyes trailing rain or sunlight. And always talked to him. Never too much, never too little, just enough to make him feel present. One day he asked why she came there. She looked up from her tea. Because you listen like it matters. He didn't know what to say to that, so he nodded and smiled. That was enough. They talked about art, about grief, about the taste of apricots in June. She never asked about his past, but he told her anyway. He told her about his mother, the one who left when he was 7, the father who drank himself silent, the years bouncing between cousins who forgot to include him in the family photos. He told her about the culinary school he dropped out of, the Michelin dream he had once scribbled on a napkin, and the night he cried in a walk-in freezer just to muffle the sound. She didn't say sorry. She just listened, like he had value, like it wasn't embarrassing to be him. Then one day, she said something that stopped the world. I want to marry you. He laughed, and then choked on the laugh. You're joking. She didn't blink. No. He felt the ground shift beneath him. Or maybe that was just his chest collapsing in. Why? He asked. Because I'm dying, she said, like someone announcing the weather. Silence. She let it settle. And because I don't want to leave this world surrounded by wolves. He didn't speak. I want to spend my final days with someone who doesn't pretend. Someone who sees the truth but doesn't run from it. I'm nobody, he whispered. You're the only real person I've met in years, she replied. They married in the courthouse. No flowers, no vows. Just a signature and a silence. That felt like peace. She gave him one ring, plain, unpolished. Wear it only when you mean it, she said. He did. The next 6 days didn't feel like a honeymoon. They felt like something ancient, something sacred. Day 1, she asked him to cook. He made eggs. She cried quietly as she ate. He didn't ask why. Day 2, they danced in her living room. No music, just footsteps and heartbeats and an old carpet that smelled like lavender. Day 3, they sat in the bath for 2 hours. She leaned her head on his shoulder, said nothing. He kissed her temple. Day 4, she told him about the company, about the boardroom vultures circling for control, about the charities they wanted to cut, the staff they wanted to fire. They think I'm weak, she whispered, and maybe I am, but I'd rather be weak with you than strong with strangers. Day 5, she gave him a box. Inside, a journal, 3 photographs, and a cassette tape. The label read, "For, after." Day 6, he found her by the window. Eyes closed. Cup of tea. Untouched. Gone. That was no funeral. Just her will and a meeting. Lawyer's suits. Suspicion. Then paperwork. He was the sole heir. The board gasped. The headlines exploded. Waiter, inherits empire, 6-day husband, now CEO. They said he was a fraud, a thief, a scam, but he had the papers, the recordings, the witnesses, and Evelyn's journal. Page 1. To the only person I ever trusted. Page 2. I chose you because you had nothing to gain and still gave everything. Page 3. Now give the world what I couldn't. The day he walked into her boardroom, he wasn't wearing a suit. He wore a charcoal gray sweater and jeans. No tie. No briefcase. Just her wedding ring on his finger, and her journal pressed against his chest. They stared at him like he was an intruder. One man even laughed. Are we supposed to take advice from a barista now? Theo didn't answer. He sat down at the head of the table. No one moved. He opened the journal. Her handwriting was sharp, clean, and final. She had rewritten the company's succession plan in her final weeks. Every share, every directive, every title, is. There was no clause, no vote, no escape hatch. She had handed him the furnace, and he felt the heat instantly. They attacked with smiles, with language too expensive for him to understand. We're just trying to protect her legacy, they said, but he had lived his whole life smelling liars before they opened their mouths. He didn't argue. He listened. He watched, and then he started asking questions. Not about revenue. Not about mergers. About people. Who's been working here the longest? What programs did she love most? What were her mornings like? They didn't know, but her secretary did, so he promoted her. They called him reckless. He called it memory. The first thing he did was visit every department. Every floor. Every name tag. He shook hands. He sat in break rooms. He asked questions no one had asked before. Are you happy here? What would you fix? What would you keep? People thought it was a stunt. Then he stayed until 2 a.m., helping the janitor mop the lobby. Then he removed all parking fees for entry-level staff. Then he installed a grief counselor on Dash site. No one understood his strategy. He didn't have one, just her voice in his head. Give the world what I couldn't. 3 months later, he opened the box again, the one she left on day 5. Inside, he found the cassette tape. Old, dusty, the kind you rewind with a pencil. He bought a player on eBay, sat alone in her study, pressed play. Her voice came through, faint and trembling. If you're hearing this, then I'm not there to see the kind of man you've become, but I already know. He leaned in, heart racing. You were the only one who didn't want anything from me, and so I gave you everything. He closed his eyes. You think I chose you because you were kind, but that's only part of it. You reminded me who I used to be. You reminded me of the girl who sold lemonade on the corner without a permit, because she didn't believe in permission. You reminded me of the woman who stormed into meetings with no degree and left with partnerships. You reminded me of the mother I never got to become. You reminded me what it meant to love, and that scared me. The tape crackled. I thought 6 days would be enough. A pause, but I was wrong. I wanted more. I just ran out of time. He sat there in the dark, holding the recorder like a newborn. And wept. Part 7. The MITR 2 years passed. The headlines faded. The gossip dried up. The world stopped caring. But he did in single quotes. He kept her desk the same, her chair, her pens. He built a scholarship in her name for women over 50 returning to school. He expanded the company's maternity leave policy. He donated 10% of profits to cancer research every year, and once a week, he returned to that little cafe on 8th and Willow. Same table, same tea, same silence. Except now, people recognized him. Some asked for selfies, some just nodded quietly, and some, the broken ones, the invisible ones, sat near him. And he always asked their name, always remembered it because he knew what it felt like to be unseen. Then one Tuesday, a young woman approached, late 20s, eyes like Evelyn's, cheekbones too. She carried a manila envelope. I'm sorry to intrude, she said. He looked up. I'm Maya, she said, her goddaughter. Theo stood. She didn't offer a handshake. She offered the envelope. She wrote you one last letter, Maya whispered. She said not to deliver it until I believed you'd earned it. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He did both. Inside the envelope, one page, one final line, written in her soft, familiar ink. I didn't choose you because I was dying. I chose you because you were the only one still alive. The company he inherited became unrecognizable. Not because of profits, not because of logos or glass buildings, but because the people inside it started smiling again. They called him a visionary. He corrected them. I'm just a man who married a woman most of you never really saw. And every time he got lost, he returned to her journal. Every time he felt afraid, he replayed her voice. And every time he missed her, which was often, he sat with the people she loved most, the ones who were too quiet for the world to notice, because that was Evelyn's secret. She didn't build an empire out of ambition, she built it out of empathy. And she left it with the only man who would protect it like a heartbeat. Theo never remarried, not because no one asked, but because some stories aren't meant to be replaced, they're meant to be remembered, and told over and over, to anyone who feels like they don't matter, because someday, someone might walk into their life. Sit down, and say, "You look like someone who doesn't belong here," and change everything.